Gloria, 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 Patri et Filio. Gloria, 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 Spiritual et Sanctus. Gloria, 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 Patris et Filio. Gloria, 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 Sanctus Osim. Chitafari mugulu, obuyinza, erinnya lyo litibwe, mirembe gyonna. Chitafari mugulu, obuyinza, erinnya lyo litibwe, mirembe gyonna. Obwakabaka bw'obujje bujje mu nsi zonna, by'oyagala bikolebwe mu nsi nga bwe bikolebwa n'eyo mu ggulu. By'oyagala bikolebwe mu nsi nga bwe bikolebwa n'eyo mu ggulu. Kitafali mu ggulu obuyinza, erinnya lyo litibwe, mirembe gyonna. Obwakabaka bw'obujje bujje mu nsi zonna, by'oyagala bikolebwe mu nsi nga bwe bikolebwa n'eyo mu ggulu. Yes, greetings to you all, dear brothers and sisters on the African continent. I hope you are all doing all right by the grace of the Most High Lord God Father, being the master architect of all living and non-living things. Yes, He reigns supreme above the 12 constellation of the firmament. He blesses us with the breath of life. He grace and bless the works of our hand on a daily basis, dear brothers and sisters. It is quite evident that we cannot make it on our own, fickle mortal as we are, dear brothers and sisters. Let us draw closer to the Most High in all that we do, in all our mental vibrations, dear brothers and sisters. Yes, we have the ability to strategize and put plans for all the things that we are, pursuing to achieve under the sun, dear brothers and sisters. But without the grace of the Most High, we are toiling in vain. Trust me, dear brothers and sisters. We submit our entities before the Most High through His living Son, Jesus Christ, with whom He reigned in a unit with the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Dear brothers and sisters, a beautiful Sunday afternoon, the 22nd of September, year 2024. Yes, dear brothers and sisters on the African continent and the human race as a whole, I hope all is well with you. Not to say that I'm devoid of the unfoldment of the peculiarity of matters of leadership across the world. We can see that the whole human race is in the state of violent upheaval because leaders who occupies higher echelons of leadership have turned a blind eye of putting the aspiration of the people whom they claim to lead first and front their own egoistic needs. Thus, we see that all those who were entrusted with the responsibility of leadership have turned a blind eye to the plight of the people that they claim to be leading. So, brothers and sisters, it is imperative to each one of us to lay a helping voice. By doing so, we will be able to curb and to mitigate those leaders who are willing to emulate vices because they are being accustomed to do so. So, brothers and sisters, Bob the mechanic at your screen, vibrating nothing but scientific vibrations, frequencies intended to uncover the vices hidden in the higher positions of leadership on the continent of Africa, particularly in Uganda, a country I call my motherland, a country that raised me, a country that brought me on the surface of the earth. So brothers and sisters, we continue, dear brothers and sisters on the African continent, all the leaders on the continent, we applaud your presence, though we continue reminding you that we are still having some elements of elderly men occupying positions of leadership on the African continent, and those men, it has come to our realization that they are detrimental. Their presence in our political institutions, it is really detrimental, and it takes us backwards. All the things that we are striving to achieve, whatever we lay a block to that foundation, these leaders come and remove all those blocks that we have laid. So brothers and sisters, let us join each other. Let us bring these vices. Let the vices bring us together to confront them. So brothers and sisters, Ugandan as I am, we continue reminding you that Mr. Museveni, he is supposed to be held accountable for ordering the sodomization of these young men and women who took to the street on the 23rd to demand the resignation of the so-called Anita Amongo, a person whom Museveni imposed into the speakership of the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda. Mr. Museveni, you are to be held accountable for the sodomization of these young men and women. On the serious note, Mr. Museveni, we are imploring the African Union and we are demanding that Museveni, you should stop torturing political dissents. Museveni, you should stop torturing the people of the Republic of Uganda. Museveni, we are informing the international community, the African Union and the East African community and the human race as a whole that as we speak right now, for the past 5 years, Museveni has been torturing, incarcerating innocent Ugandans who affiliate themselves to political organization, the political organization whom we found that our aspiration will be materialized through their political ideology. So Museveni feels so intimidated that his status quo, it is to be toppled at any given time. Thus he thought that by kidnapping and torturing these young men and women will put an end to demand a just governance. Mr. Museveni, that is a lie. We are not going to stop. Mr. Museveni, we continue demanding the unconditional release of all political prisoners who are languishing in your dungeons. Mr. Museveni, you are encroaching your rights by overstaying in the State House and in the Presidence of the Republic of Uganda. We demand the unconditional release of all political prisoners held in the dungeons of dictator Museveni. Dear brothers and sisters, it is a beautiful Sunday today. We have just celebrated our Sunday Mass today, and the Father reminded us that love is all there in God's nature. Dear brothers and sisters, we received the first reading from the book of Wisdom, my second favorite book in the Holy Scriptures, the first book being the book of Psalms, whereby I go in the open field and exclaim and proclaim the greatness of the Most High in the picture of King David, God's greatest friend. So dear brothers and sisters, my presentation today, it is captioned as the presentation of the response from Joel Senyon and the entire opposition business in the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda, their response to the State of the Nation address presented to the Parliament on the 6th of June, year 2024. Dear brothers and sisters, I'm not well experienced in this documentation or presentation of documents, but according to the teachings of Apostle ASP Asimwe, who asserts and encourages Ugandans that we are to attain experience at work. Thus, bear with me, dear brothers and sisters. Bear with me as I present the the State of the Nation, the response of the State of the Nation address from the opposition leaders in the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda, presented to us by Honorable Joel Senyonyi, the leader of alternative government, alternative business in the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda. Let us delve into it straight away with no further ado. Preamble. Pursuant to Rule 53 of the Rules of Procedure of the Parliament of Uganda, as the opposition, we present our response to the State of the Nation Address, SONA, delivered on the 6th of June, year 2024. The State of the Nation Address is a constitutionally enshrined obligation and an annual tradition meant to provide a clear and a comprehensive overview of our nation's progress, while unveiling the government's agenda for the forthcoming year. Regrettably, the address seemed to have deviated from its intended purpose, increasingly resembling a ceremonial ratio rather than a substantive and honest appraisal of our national condition, speaks Joel Senyonyi. The address, while filled with proclamation of progress, appears to lack the depth of sincerity necessary to fully capture the complexities and challenges facing our nation. There is a growing dissonance between the rosy painted picture by the address and the harsh realities experienced by many Ugandans daily. Economically, the address fell short of acknowledging the persistent and pervasive economic struggles that many of the citizens endure. Unemployment remains a significant issue, particularly among our youth, who are the bedrock of our future. The rising cost of living continues to burden countless families, creating an environment of economic insecurity that was not adequately addressed. The healthcare system, a cornerstone of a national well-being, remains in a precarious state. Despite assertions of improvement, the reality is blatantly different for many Ugandans who face significant challenges in accessing basic health care services. Hospitals often underfunded, understaffed, and ill-equipped. A situation the address did not confront with the urgency it deserves. The lack of a clear and actionable plan to rectify the deficiency is deeply concerning. Similarly, in the education sector, which shapes the future of a nation, faces numerous challenges that were glossed over in the address. The ongoing issue of inadequate funding, poor infrastructure, and substandard quality of education in many public schools were not sufficiently acknowledged. Joel Senyonyi speaks. Inadequate remedies against corruption, an enduring obstacle to national progress, reflects a missed opportunity in the State of the Nation address. While anti-corruption efforts were referenced, mere rhetoric is insufficient. Concrete actions and innovative strategies are imperative to combat this entrenched issue. Without genuine dedication and transparent execution, phrases such as crushing corruption remain mere slogans. Furthermore, the State of the Nation address failed to acknowledge the ongoing repression, censorship, and harassment faced by opposition members and civil society organizations. These infringements strike at the core of our democracy and demand immediate attention. Ignoring to downplaying these issues undermines the very foundation of our nation. To move forward, As leaders, we must confront these issues head-on with a sense of urgency and steady commitment. Our discourse must transcend rhetoric and translate into actionable plan, transparent execution, and accountable governance. As the opposition, it is in our collective responsibility to ensure that the promises made during the State of the Nation address are not mere words, but catalysts for real and meaningful change. As representatives of the people, we are duty-bound to hold the government accountable and ensure that its promises manifest into tangible improvements in the lives of all Ugandans. Owing to the ongoing, this year's opposition response to SONA is being echoed on three pillars, namely service delivery, corruption, and human rights. 1. Urgent economic concerns. A call for reform and accountability. The nation stands at a critical juncture, facing profound economic crises that threaten the very fabric of society and the future of our beloved Uganda. The economic status of Uganda is in a dire state, starkly contradicting the government's hollow claims of progress and stability. The harsh reality is undeniable, as every Ugandan feels the deep economic pinch in their pockets. Profound crises include, among other following: 1. Overtaxation. The profound crisis, including among others, the following: 1. Overtaxation. The burden of overtaxation is a sad reality that cannot be overstated. The tax system, designed to fund public service, has unfortunately become a tool that erodes the economic rights of the people. It has stifled the aspirations of small business owners and the working families across our land. Businesses closed not just in numbers, but in droves. Each closure a testament to a policy that demands re-evaluation. This is not sustainable, nor is it just. During the passing of the 2024-25 tax bill, the opposition reminded the government to develop a comprehensive taxation policy for the country, such that the imposition of any tax is informed by a well-structured tax framework that does not promote injustice. The domestic revenue mobilization strategy has utterly failed to achieve its core objective. The government is in desperate need of more funds for essential service delivery, so it continues to impose levies on a populace already suffering from severe economic hardship. This approach is unsustainable and unjust, placing unbearable burden on the citizens struggling to make ends meet. We must urgently reassess and reform our revenue collection strategies to ensure they are equitable and do not further exacerbate the economic plight of our people. Uganda's approach to taxation has not been balanced by adequate attention to the welfare of the citizens. Ironically, as the government seeks to raise more revenues through numerous taxes, it simultaneously erodes the very base form. It erodes the very base from which this revenue is drawn. The nation witnessed the grievances that led to the traders striking over the use of influence by Uganda Revenue Authority, URA, and the other exorbitant taxes they have to endure. Traders have reached a point where they find it increasingly difficult to continue trading. The state of our nation demands urgent and decisive action. We cannot afford complacency when the stakes are so high. 2. Increasing poverty in the country. Joel Senyon addressing the country in response to what Museveni stated as the State of the Nation address, demystification. Poverty in Uganda is a critical and multifaceted issue that affects a significant portion of the population. According to the UNICEF Country Office Annual Report of 2023, more than 41.7% of the population of Uganda is living in poverty. Multidimensional child poverty is also high at 44%, while monetary child poverty remains at 23% as of the last year, 2023. The multidimensional child poverty that has invaded our homes is tearing the fulcrum around which society is built. It is a nation blessed with abundant natural resources and a hard-working population. It is a glaring contradiction that so many should have so little. Vulnerable groups, including children and the elderly, suffer disproportionately with no safety net to catch them as they fall through the cracks widened by economic hardship. What is noted above is true reflection on many citizens' life. The citizens are struggling to secure the necessities of life due to the rising tide of poverty. The situation demands our urgent attention and action. This is despite the so-called poverty education. This is despite the so-called poverty reduction measures like parish development model, which this government is implementing without following our well-intentioned advice. Money cannot always be thrown at people, and they are expected to get rich. It is no wonder that all the past programs such as Emyoga, Youth Livelihood Program, and others have failed to achieve their intended purposes. In the case of PDM, Parish Development Model, it is even more problematic in that 100 million shillings is allocated to a parish of 1,000 people. And similarly, the same amount is allocated to a parish of 40,000 people in heavily populated urban areas. This skewed mathematics alone should have alerted the government about the inability of this program to ameliorate the people of Uganda. 3. The youth unemployment. Youth unemployment and the uncoordinated labor externalization program. Youth unemployment is not just a challenge, it is a ticking time bomb. Our young people, brimming with potential and ambition, are sidelined, their dreams deferred or quashed. The nation has reached a distressing point where the absence of opportunity drives the youth into terrifying conditions abroad. Reports of human rights abuse against Ugandans in foreign lands are not just disturbing, they are a call to action. It is our duty to respond and to protect our citizens whenever they may be. Furthermore, The plight of our citizens working overseas, particularly in the Arab world, is wrongly perceived to be normal to mistreat Ugandans in diaspora. The government has continuously been urged to take immediate action to recruit labor attaches in major cities and countries where Ugandans are employed. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs must task these attaches to focus specifically on labor-related issues and to provide technical backdropping and consular support in all foreign missions. The government's role does not stop at levying numerous taxes, but as a sovereign state, it is mandated to negotiate stronger bilateral labor agreements to protect its citizens beyond the borders. It is essential to have a bilateral agreement in place before exporting labor to any country, speaks Joel Senyon. As citizens, we desire a state that empowers the youth with skills and opportunities here at home, transforming potential energy into kinetic achievement. In the immediate, the government must defend the dignity of every Ugandan at home and abroad, ensuring that their labor rights are not violated. 4. Interest rates. Uganda has maintained high interest rates for quite some time now, and this situation keeps worsening. Take, for instance, the last 4 months from January 2024 to April 2024. From January 2024 to April 2024, Bank of Uganda statistics indicates worrying condition for April 2024. The central bank rate was 10.25, while the bank rate for commercial banks stood at 14.25%. These interest rates have a severe impact on both businesses and individuals. Many people have lost properties through mortgages and car loans because of the spillover effect of the high bank rates. 5. Exchange rates. A snapshot of the recent past shows a depreciating exchange rate for Uganda's currency in the face of other currencies. This has a negative impact on our economy. You all know that our currency now oscillates between UGX 3,873 shillings point 59 to UGX 3,895.78 per US dollar. At one time, it nearly went to UGX 4,000 per dollar. A weaker currency makes imports more expensive, and Uganda being a net importer, this means higher prices for goods and services. Every passing day, Uganda's debt burden is increasing, and it should be noted that a depreciating currency increases the local currency cost of servicing that debt. For instance, in the approved budget, estimates for financial year 2024-2025, Uganda is going to spend a total of UGX 9.546 trillion on interest payments. This means straining the country's finances and reducing the funds available for other critical service delivery areas. No wonder the citizens suffer from poor health care, substandard education, and the deplorable road infrastructure. We are listening to Joel Senyon, presented to you by Bob the Mechanic. His response to the State of the Nation address, which was aired on the 6th June 2024. 6. Worsening public debt. Worsening public debt levels, coupled with government's high appetite for borrowing, pose a significant threat to Uganda's economic stability. The situation is exacerbated by the rampant corruption and the sheer irresponsibility in managing board funds, leading to the payment of commitment fee for unutilized loans. The IMF, International Monetary Fund, reports titled Uganda's Public Debt Dilemma, What Lies Ahead in 2024, highlights a critical financial issue for Uganda. Interest payments on loans are consuming a significant portion of the country's budget and domestic revenues, creating a substantial burden. Additionally, a large amount of borrowed money is either underutilized or misused. For instance, loans intended for sectors such as health, education, innovation, technology, development and transfer, manufacturing, private sector development, public sector development, regional development, sustainable urbanization and housing, energy development, natural resources, climate change, environmental and water management, and budget support development plan implementation remain unutilized or poorly managed. This exacerbates the financial challenges faced by our country. For record purposes, we have provided a comprehensive list of borrowed funds that remains unutilized. It is appended. By June 2024, Uganda's public debt has skyrocketed to UGX 97.499 trillion, and the government has continued to borrow even more. This wanton borrowing spree, without corresponding value for money, undermines the country's fiscal health, and burdens future generations with debt repayment obligations. In just 5 years, Uganda's public debt has more than doubled. As highlighted in the Auditor General's report for 2024, the report indicates that public debt surged from UGX 46.057 trillion to UGX 97.499 trillion shillings. Disturbingly, there is a lack of direct correlation between the accumulated loans and tangible development, signaling a severe lack of accountability for taxpayers' money. This is particularly unacceptable in the current context, where poverty levels are rising and economic hardship intensifying. The failure to translate borrowed funds into meaningful development projects is a betrayal of public trust and a misuse of national resources. Joel Sanyonyi asserts. Government resources. This government promised to build a specialized hospital at Rubawa, and so far over 600 billion has been sunk into this project, but there is nothing to show for all that money. No wonder they don't give access to us as legislators to see what's happening at the site, yet the money is appropriated there. This government has sunk lots of money into a Tiak sugar factory without much to show for it. The Parliament Budget Committee records reveals so far UGX 557.71 billion has been injected into a Tiak factory project, sugar factory project, but no single grain of sugar has been produced. 553.71 billion has been injected into Atiak sugar factory project, but no single grain of sugar has been produced. No single grain of sugar has been produced. Joel Sonyon speaks. The government borrowed money in 2021 for Kampala Ginger Express to improve connection between Kampala and Ginger cities and to some neighboring countries, but to date, only 0.1% of the borrowed money has been utilized. Consequently, we lost 24,000 man-hours every day due to traffic jam. Statistics. The impact of rising public debt on service delivery is profound and far-reaching. The recent past budget of UGX 72.130 trillion shows the domestic borrowing has increased to UGX 28.76 trillion, while external borrowing stands at UGX 10.777 trillion, totaling to UGX 39.745 trillion, which the government plans to borrow. Meanwhile, the government plans to collect only UGX 975 trillion from domestic and non-tax revenues. This discrepancy means that a significant portion of the budget must be allocated to debt servicing, leaving less funds available for essential public services such as health care, education, and infrastructure. The strain on public finance ultimately affects all citizens, as reduced service delivery hampers effort to alleviate poverty and promote sustainable development. On May 17, 2024, Moody's Rating, a London-based research publication, that publishes credit ratings and provides assessment service on a wide range of debt obligations, downgraded Uganda's credit rating, citing reduced debt affordability and increasingly limited financing options due to greater reliance on more expensive domestic and non-concessional external financing sources. Right Honorable Speaker, Joel Sonyon speaks. Right Honorable Speaker, the risk of external vulnerability for Uganda remains higher than previously. The higher cost of government debt service and lower inflows of new external financing have complicated the Bank of Uganda's effort to rebuild its foreign exchange reserve buffer, as months of import cover. As of March 2024, foreign exchange reserves were at 3-year low of $3.5 billion, equivalent to approximately 3.3 months of import cover, including oil sector development-related imports. This is risky. Government operations can only serve for 3 months should we find ourselves unable to replenish the reserves. Corruption, a malignant. Corruption. 7. Corruption, a malignant cancer that must be urgently dealt with. It is our considered view that there must be firm commitment to effect and efficient service delivery. Accountability, and zero tolerance for corruption. Sorry, brothers and sisters. It is our considered view that there must be firm commitment to effective and efficient service delivery, accountability, and zero tolerance for corruption. The opposition alternative budget priorities for the financial year 2024-2023. We echoed on the theme fostering resilient communities by combating corruption and promoting efficient service delivery, a human rights-based approach to resource allocation. The alternative policy direction, and more so, the alternative budget ably articulates our unwavering stance on corruption, which would like to re-echo. Uganda established a comprehensive anti-corruption system to combat the pervasive issue of corruption within the country. However, because of lack of commitment to the fight, the country continues to be ranked among the most corrupt in the world. This indicates underlying systemic issue that contributes to the persistence of corruption in Uganda. Every year, Transparency International disseminates results for Corruption Perception Index, CPI. The CPI highlights how different countries score in the fight against corruption. According to Transparency International's 2023 Corruption Perception Index, Uganda had a score of 26 out of a possible 100. When rated by score, Uganda placed in 141st out of 180 nations in the index, with the first country having the most honest public sector. This is clear indicator of how badly we are doing in our quest to deal with corruption. According to a report by the Inspectorate of Government titled Cost of Corruption in Uganda, the estimated cost of corruption per year is between UGX 9.1 trillion to UGX 20 trillion. This amount represents a significant portion of Uganda's total government revenue and could be saved if corruption were eradicated, speaks Joel Senyoy. The head of State's Corps for Caution and Lifestyle Audit is a slap in the face of every Ugandan yearning for a brighter future. Worse still, the government slogans of crushing corruption, which are not followed by serious actions. Mere words will not save the money meant to build hospitals, educate our children, or provide much needed service delivery. We need results, not rhetoric, speaks Joel Senyoy. 2. Urgent call. Transparent government for Uganda's land sector. The opposition has repeatedly voiced our grave concern over the government's failure to address urgent challenges in the land sector. One of the most pressing challenges in the widespread practice of land grabs and unlawful evictions. Many Ugandans are deeply concerned about the land ownership since the government has not adopted effective measures to protect their rights or provide clear, accessible channels for resolving property dispute. The Ministry of Land is plagued by widespread corruption. Exacerbating these problems, there are countless cases where land titles are forged or given to persons through unscrupulous means. this systematic corruption deprive legitimate landowners of their land and add to widespread injustices and strife. For example, in the Acholi sub-region and central Buganda area, there have been reported incidents of strong persons and groups manipulating land registration process to take land from its lawful owners, bribing authorities to modify documents or grant bogus titles in a common method of manipulation, leaving real landowners with little recourse. Uganda Land Commission, ULC, established by Article 238 of the Constitution to manage government land, faces its own set of challenges. The absence of an enabling law means the government does not recognize Uganda Land Commission, ULC, as a statutory body, leaving it without statutory budget. Statutory budget. Consequently, Uganda Land Commission struggles to fulfill its mandate, compounded by the court awards amounting to about UGX 500 billion, which severely constrain its operational capabilities. Additionally, Uganda Land Commission, ULC, lacks an up-to-date inventory of government land, making it difficult to prevent encroachment and ensure proper land management. In addition, the failure to fully operationalize the Uganda Land Fund as provided for under Section 41 of the Land Act Cap 227 has had significant policy implications for the country. Tenants and bona fide occupants who form a legal title. These individuals face ongoing threats of illegal evictions and land grabbing. For example, in regions such as the Buganda and Bunyoro Kingdom, many tenants live in constant fear of being forcefully removed from their ancestral land without adequate notice or compensation, a direct violation of their fundamental rights to property and housing, leading to heightened tensions and frequent land disputes. The absence of functioning land funds means that the government cannot provide the necessary financial assistance for their occupants to formalize their land ownership. This has continually perpetuated land insecurity and conflicts, as many Ugandans continues to face threat of illegal eviction and land grabbing. The government's failure to address land grabbing and illegal eviction reflects a broader disregard for human rights. We urge the government to take deliberate measures to create a fair and transparent land admission system that protects the rights of all citizens, particularly the most vulnerable. Uganda transport sector. Neglected transport sector. Uganda transport sector presents a bleak image, characterized by a system that falls short of meeting the fundamental needs of its citizens. This stifles economic progress, central to the challenge faced by the neglected sector in the lamentable state of infrastructure, particularly roads, which serves as vital conduits for both urban and rural connectivity. Failure to maintain roads effectively has resulted in many becoming nearly inaccessible during the rain season, impeding movement and economic activities. The dire condition of road network has far-reaching implications for both urban and rural communities. About 29% of Kampala's roads network is in relatively good condition based on the International Roughness Index, road unevenness, with 71% in fair to poor conditions. The deteriorating roads in Kampala metropolitan area exacerbates traffic congestion, prolonging commute times and raise vehicle operating expenses. Generally, most of the roads in Kampala are in unmaintainable condition and requires a complete overhaul. This not only consumes time and resource, but also has a negative impact on productivity. For instance, in Kampala, traffic jam is a daily ordeal for commuters, resulting in lost hours and decreased efficiency in business operations. In rural areas, the poor state of roads poses even greater challenges. Many rural communities rely on roads for access essential services such as health care, education, and markets. However, during the rainy season, impossible roads cut off these communities from vital services, exacerbating inaccessibility and hindering socio-economic development. For example, farmers struggle to transport their produce to market, leading to loss of economic development, leading to loss and reduced income. Similarly, access to health care facilities becomes limited, putting lives at risk, especially in emergencies. The rampant corruption within Uganda's transport and work sector demands immediate and decisive action. Corruption is glaringly evident in the awarding of contracts for road construction and maintenance, leading to significant inefficiency and systematic failure. The bad conditions of our road infrastructure has been made worse by the awarding of contracts to unscrupulous or incompetent contractors who have produced shoddy work and unfinished projects. Local government face obstacles in utilizing allocated grants for road rehabilitation. This is attributed to contradictory guidelines or fund applications, procurement delays, and dilapidated road maintenance equipment, of all which hamper project implementation. These delays impede local development efforts and exacerbate road deterioration, thus impacting commuters and hindering economic activities in affected areas. Addressing these challenges requires coordinated efforts to streamline fund allocation, enhance procurement process, and improve infrastructure maintenance capacity at all levels of governance. Accordingly, the government should support and expedite the implementation of the following plan to improve performance as consistently suggested by the designated agencies, Uganda National Roads Authority, UNRA, local governments, etc. 1. Support the implementation of e-procurement. 2. Increase the maintenance budget and ensure that approved budget is always fully released. 3. Enable Uganda Roads Fund, URF, to attain a second generation road fund status. 4. Facilitate the efficient and effective mobilization and administration of funds for the maintenance of public roads and explore public-private partnership (PPP) financing mechanisms. 4. Deployable health care service. Deployable. That is what he said. Deployable health care system, and need to prioritize preventive measures and service delivery. The dire state of the health system are glaringly evident, especially in rural areas where hospitals and clinics are often devoid of the most basic necessities. Imagine a mother in a remote village, desperate to find a medicine for her sick child, only to discover that the nearest clinic is without essential drugs or even a qualified health care worker to offer assistance. This heartbreaking scenario plays out far too often across the country, leaving families devastated and communities vulnerable to the ravage of preventable diseases. Corruption within healthcare sector has compounded the service delivery challenges, creating a vicious cycle of deprivation and despair. Consider the case of hospital, where funds met for purchasing vital medical supplies and mysteriously disappear into the pockets of corrupt officials. As a result, patients are left to suffer needlessly, their lives hanging in the balance as they wait in vain for treatment that may never come. Meanwhile, those responsible for this embezzlement continues to enjoy lives of luxury, classiously indifferent to the suffering they have caused. This is a flagrant violation of the rights to health, enshrined in both international law and Uganda's constitution. Every citizen, regardless of their socio-economic status, has the inherent right to access health care services that meet their needs. Yet, in Uganda, this right is routinely denied to those who need it most, perpetuating a cycle of poverty and ill health that traps generation in a state of perpetual suffering. This should include, but not to be limited to, investing the construction and renovation of health facilities and ensuring that they are equipped with necessary medical equipment and supply. Secondly, addressing the shortage of qualified healthcare workers is imperative. Policies should be focused on training, recruiting, and retaining healthcare professionals. Accordingly, the government should increase funding for medical education, offering scholarship and incentives for students to study medicine and nursing, and providing competitive salaries and benefits to attract and retain skilled healthcare workers in rural areas. Thirdly, the government policies should prioritize educating the population on health lifestyle choices, hygiene practices, and importance of preventive health measures such as vaccination and regular health screening. 5. Need for reasonable environmental stewardship. The environmental sector in Uganda is a state of crisis, with rampant deforestation, pollution, and inadequate waste management practices wreaking havoc on our precious ecosystem. Over the past century, 1921 up to 2021, Uganda's forest cover has decreased by 41.6%, according to Global Forest Watch. The percentage of forest cover, Uganda. The percentage of forest cover in Uganda plummeted from 54% in 1900 to a pitiful of 12.4% in 2017. In addition, Uganda's tree cover decreased by 844 hectares, or 11% between 2001 and 2019. Greater deforestation occurs in places where population is densely concentrated. Over half of this loss is occurring in districts including Mukono, Mpigi, Luwero, Mubende, Kenjojo, Kiboga, Mukono, Hoima, Mbalala, Mpigi, and Gulu. As reported by Global Forest Watch, trees and woods are being cut down to make way for dwellings and fast urbanizing areas, especially the Kampala metropolitan area. Since gas and electricity are too expensive for most Ugandans to afford, 94% of the population uses charcoal or firewood cut from national forests or the private forests of farmers for their fuel needs. Despite the government's lip service to environmental conservation, the government initiatives have been ineffective and have failed to address the root cause of degradation, allowing ecological damage to spiral out of control. The wetland degradation has a serious effect on the ecology, economy, and society. As a result, the country is experiencing adverse environmental effects on the ecology, economy, and society. The politicians and regime allies are the major perpetrators of wetland encroachment. In addition, the establishment of industrial park in wetlands further worsened the environment deterioration. Generally, as urbanization expands, wetlands are increasingly being drained, filled, and built upon, compromising their ability to regulate water flow. Uganda has 30,000 square kilometers of wetland in 2000. Uganda had 30,000 square kilometers of wetland in 2000, but this has subsequently decreased roughly to 22,500 square kilometers, indicating a 25% loss in the last 2 decades. In 2015, the Ministry of Water and Environment reported that Uganda was losing 5,000 hectares of wetland each year. The rate of wetland degradation and loss is quite concerning, with many ecosystems seeing rapid and permanent changes. Uganda action is thus required to halt the decline and encourage conservation and restoration initiatives. Unfortunately, the government keeps targeting a few people while ignoring the powerful and connected who are harming our environment. These double standards are indicative of bad governance. Those double standards are indicative of bad governance, Joel Senyonyi asserts. In the circumstances, we suggest that 1. The government address the root cause of environmental degradation in Uganda, starting with the strict enforcement of existing environmental regulations without discrimination. 2. Factories, industries are required to grow trees to lessen their environmental effect and pollution. Corporate environment responsibility policies should encourage or require tree planting, other green efforts. 3. The government supports farmers in adopting techniques that minimizes environmental impact, such as agroforestry and other climate-smart practices. 4. The government prioritized the development of recycling facilities, compositing programs and initiatives to reduce waste at source. 5. The government invests in renewable energy to minimize deforestation from wood, fuel, and charcoal. Alternatives such as solar, gas, charcoal briquettes, affordable hydroelectricity, etc. should be promoted and subsidized. 6. Need to prioritize the agriculture sector. Agriculture is Uganda's main economic driver, providing 70% of the employment and contributing a half of all exports and 1/4 of GDP. The agro-industrialization program received an allocation of UGX 1.672 trillion in financial year 2024-2025, representing 4.4% of the total national budget. This funding is insufficient, with over 54% of the sector's budget coming from external financing. There is an urgent need to increase the budget to at least 10% in alignment with the 2013 Malabo Declaration on Accelerated Agricultural Growth and Transformation. In addition, there is need to prioritize the implementation of agricultural mechanization. Many of our farmers lack access to appropriate technology at various stages of the agricultural value chain. The Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, MAAIF, must develop and present a national mechanization strategy and equipment management and utilization policy to Parliament. This will address the existing challenges and gaps in the mechanization strategy. Furthermore, there is a need to allocate budget for strengthening the public extension system and recruiting more extension workers in areas of high need. By doing so, the government is tasked to facilitate and first recruitment and deployment of additional extension workers. Fisheries and subsector 6 of 1. This parliament has received petitions about the government's mismanagement of fisheries and subsectors. The Fish Mills and Traders Association Uganda Limited is concerned about excessive taxes, mistrading agreements, missing trade agreements, increasing brutality by security personnel, and human rights violation in disguise of fighting illegal fishing. Even after Parliament passed the Fisheries and Aquaculture Act 2022 to manage the fisheries subsector in our country, human rights violation and torture are not accounted for in many operations undertaken by security agencies. Parliament urged the Minister of Fisheries to introduce regulations for Fisheries and Aquaculture Act of 2022. With no success, we, as the opposition, also call for an investigation into atrocities committed by security personnel, for the perpetrators to be brought to justice and the victims to be compensated. Joel Senyon asserts, in unison with the opposition. In addition, we urge the government to reinstate the eco-management structure at all fish landing sites and to implement immediate regulations on silverfish fishing. 7. Challenges in Uganda's justice system. Joel Senyonyi continues to inform Ugandan in his response to the State of the Nation address. Number 7. The justice system is plagued by chronic under-resourcing and inefficiency, leading to substantial delays in adjudicating cases. These delays have severely hindered the ability of the judiciary to provide timely and effective justice. For many Ugandans, the lack of affordable legal representation exacerbates the problem, resulting in stark disparities in access to justice. Those unable to afford lawyers often navigate the complex legal system without adequate support, which compromises their right to a fair trial. Judicial corruption is another significant issue undermining the justice system in Uganda. Reports of judicial officials and court officials taking bribes to influence case outcomes are alarmingly common. This corruption not only rescues the administration of justice but also erodes public confidence in the judiciary. For instance, individuals with financial means can often secure favorable verdicts through bribery, while those without such resources are left at a disadvantage. This pervasive corruption undermines the rule of law and perpetuates a sense of injustice among the populace. Resource constraints, slow case processing, and corruption prolong suspect pre-trial detentions. This is why many accused persons unlawfully spend months or years in detention before trial. This violates due process and fair trial, since it impacts people, families, and communities, sometimes resulting in unemployment, education, and social status loss. For example, we have so many National Unity Platform and other opposition supporters languishing in various detention centers on trumped-up charges. Secondly, there have been cases where suspects of minor offenses have been jailed for longer than the maximum sentence they would have received if convicted. Museveni is the root cause of all conflict. As I continue, this indicative of justice system that is not only slow but also indifferent to the plight of the less privileged. The lack of timely and fair adjudication has fostered a culture of impunity in our country, where those with power and resources exploit the system to their advantage. Furthermore, the judiciary struggles with severe resource constraints that have manifested in various forms, such as inadequate court facilities, insufficient staff, and limited access to legal databases and other necessary tools. These shortcomings have occasioned the challenge of case backlog and overburdened the judicial officers, who are unable to keep pace with the volume of cases requiring adjudication. According to the Justice, Law and Order Sector JLOS reports, courts closed with a pending caseload of 156,349 cases in 2021-2022, of which 42,960 were backlogged. This accounted for 27.48% of cases as backlog from 32% in financial year 2020-2021. These issues have been made worse by the absence of strong legal aid system, which leaves the most vulnerable segments of society without access to legal assistance. The government should extend access to legal aid, enhance transparency and accountability, and increase financing for the judiciary. The justice system can only regain public confidence and maintain the rule of law by implementing such measures. Joel Senyon continues informing Ugandans his response to the State of the National Address aired by Dictator Yoweri Museveni, a murderer, a man who turned our political institutions as his own personal business. Joel Senyon continues. 8. Fostering trade resilience and empowering cooperatives. The trade and industry sector is in a state of decline, as evidenced by the rising prices, a high rate of business closures, and industries operating at a half capacity, resulting in a widespread job losses. This is exacerbated by the increasing cost of operation and production, as well as expensive capitals, especially for small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. Additionally, there are challenges with market access due to inadequate infrastructure for trade facilitation and insufficient product standardization. To cover high operational costs, business owners increase the price of their products or services, potentially leading to reduced demand and impending growth, and expansion due to high revenue spending on operation. Cooperatives have always played an important role. Cooperatives have always played an important role. Cooperatives have always played an important role in our country's economic growth, notably in agriculture and small-scale enterprises. However, they are hampered by government interferences, limited access to information, and scarcity of trained workers. In addition, government domination has hampered cooperative autonomy. In addition, government domination has hampered cooperative autonomy and innovation. Over-regulations and bureaucratic barriers have also impeded their ability and flexibility to adopt market challenges. Furthermore, political meddling has intensified efficiency and corruption in cooperative organization. I told you, brother, NUP is led by people with logic. Traders recently voiced multiple concerns, such as the need to suspend IFRIs and the need to increase annual turnover threshold for enrollment from 150 million Uganda shillings to at least 1 billion. Among other reasons for the recent double taxations, diminishing their competitiveness, especially relative to Kenya, where the VAT is set at 16%. In addition, traders also raised the issues about the alleged unprofessional behavior of URA, that is, Uganda Revenue Authority enforcement officers, and steep interest rates, raising from 17 to 36% imposed on local businesses. These conditions contrast with the more favorable terms offered to foreign competitors, notably Chinese. These conditions contrast with the more favorable terms offered to foreign competitors, notably Chinese companies, who benefit from lower credit rates and the additional business incentives. We therefore urge the government, Joel Sanyonyi speaks, we therefore urge the government, that, while the system is vital to ensure proper tax administration, the taxpayer do not understand it, nor do they even understand the tax regime, a situation that should have called for proper sensitization of masses before implementation. 2. Enforcement of the Competition Act 2023, which was assented to but not yet operational. A committee should be set up and regulations issued to operationalize this law as soon as possible. 3. Prioritize provisions of low-cost capital through recapitalizing Uganda Development Bank, UDB, product standardization to develop, promote, and enforce standards, provide incentives for local investors, provide funds for recruitment of cooperative officers at every district to build a stronger culture of cooperatives and development, trade infrastructure, transport, and ICT, information and communication technology. 9. Tourism and wildlife. Antiquities, tourism, wildlife, and antiquities sector. The tourism, wildlife, and antiquity sector is a significant source of foreign exchange for Uganda and boasts high returns on investment. This sector is the most appropriate means to revive our struggling economy and should be given the necessary attention and support to raise funds for the protection and enjoyment of other basic rights. However, it is unfortunate that the government of Uganda provides insufficient funding for this sector despite its economic potential. In 2022, for instance, tourism-related revenue and foreign exchange earnings totaled UGX 2.7 trillion, yet the sector's approved budget has been stagnating between UGX 193.770 billion and UGX 248.799 billion in the last 5 financial years. It is equally important to note that there is historical and cultural heritage with over 650 cultural sites which are underserved and undeveloped for tourism. This partly explains the 9% of the leisure tourists with an average length of stay of 6 days compared to Kenya's 10 days, confirming short stay by tourists. It is not surprising that tourism sector in Uganda hosts fewer tourists compared to its neighboring countries. The reason for the low number of tourists, short stays include limited tourism offerings, ineffective marketing strategy, inadequate tourism infrastructure, poor quality services, and expensive accommodation. Honorable Joel Sanyonyi, a quick reminder, Museveni's son-in-law was given him money to promote Uganda's tourism, but in return we received the robbery of Uganda's wildlife to be exported to Rwanda. And all the money which was allocated, as you have elaborated here, it went into buying machinery, Mr. Wabogo, to make a casino in Dubai. You understand? So, These are the people who do not love our country. In continuation, it is not surprising that the tourism sector in Uganda, the opposition therefore proposes improved marketing and advertising strategies, tourism infrastructure development, improvement in tourist destinations, improvement on the hospitality nature, inventions of new tourism experience, and conservation of the biodiversity. Those are the proposals from the prodigiousness of Joel Senyonyi, the leader of alternative government in the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda, as we continue. Number 10, education, the most important. Education, the education sector in Uganda is peruked by severe underfunding, leading to a multitude of challenges that significantly impedes the delivery of quality education. Overcrowded classrooms are a common sight, with students to teach a ratio far exceeding recommended. With the students to teacher ratio far exceeding the recommended. For instance, a recent validation exercise done by the Education Service Commission, ESC, revealed that the country required an extra workforce of over 78,880 primary school teachers to reach the intended target of maintaining a 1 hour 40 teacher pupil ratio, a 1 to 40 teacher pupil ratio at the basic level. This, however, is far from being achieved. Overcrowding has not only hampered effective teaching and learning, but also put a strain on a fewer resources available, such as textbooks, desks, and other essential supplies. Many schools, particularly in rural regions, lack appropriate infrastructure, including proper sanitation, which negatively impacts the learning environment. A major contributing factor for the mentioned challenges in the chronic shortage of qualified teachers. In many schools, especially those in remote areas, there are not enough teachers to meet the needs of the student population. This shortage forces schools to either combine classes or employ unqualified personnel, both of which negatively impact the quality of education. It is unacceptable and shameful reality that in many of our government schools, a single teacher is often forced to handle multiple grades simultaneously. This dire situation severely dilutes the quality of education and instructions each student receives, and undermines their educational development and future prospects. Furthermore, some students in rural areas go weeks without a teacher for critical subjects like science subjects, including mathematics, because the country does not have enough qualified staff to cover all classes, speaks Joel Senyonyi. In an outright scandal that some sub-counties still lack public schools, the government's policy to ensure that every sub-county has a seed school has not been implemented. As a result, learners are forced to travel long distance to access secondary education. In some sub-counties, especially in the hard-to-reach mountainous regions and remote districts, the nearest government school may be 10 to 15 kilometers away. The situation is even worse in the land districts where sub-counties are spread across multiple islands. This daily ordeal exhausts learners, significantly affect their concentration and academic performance, and is compounded by the inability to afford lunch, leading to increased school dropouts. The addition in many of our government primary and secondary schools are nothing short of a national disgrace. Pupils are forced to sit on the floor, study under tree shades, or crowded into dilapidated, condemned mud and wishful structures. On the brink of the collapse, these dangerous conditions poses an immediate and unacceptable threat to the lives of our children and their dedicated teachers. In rural and remote areas, the situation is even more dire. Bad weather, especially during the rainy season, turns schools into almost impossible task, severely disrupting education and keeping our children from the classrooms they so desperately need. This is an outrage that cannot be allowed to continue. Thus, we ought to march to Parliament on 9th October, this coming month, dear brothers and sisters, as I continue. As stated in our alternative policy position, the government needs to increase the capitation grant to schools. The capitation grant to schools, addressing problems areas with infrastructures, and invest in effective school inspection system. This would considerably enhance the service delivery in the sector and ensure that every Ugandan child has access to a decent education and mandated by the Constitution. Number 11, Defense and Internal Affairs. The Ministry of Internal Affairs is entrenched in a mire of corruption and inefficiency, falling utterly in its mandate to provide effective policing and public safety services. The high crime rate, coupled with the pervasive lack of trust in law enforcement agencies, expose the military's glaring incompetence and systemic failure. The rampant corruption within the police force and other internal affairs departments is a cancer eating away at the very fabric of our society. Bribery and favoritism are not just occasional occurrences. They are the norms, and they severely undermine justice and security. This explains the rampant criminal activities in the country, where suspects bribe their way out of police custody. An act that has eroded public confidence in the authority meant to protect us. This blatant corruption allows criminals to operate with impunity, while ordinary citizens are left vulnerable and without recourse. These are widespread reports. These are widespread reports and incidents of excessive use of force, arbitrary arrests, and torture. These abuses, often directed at political opponents and even ordinary citizens. For example, during a political gathering, the police routinely use excessive force, including firing live ammunition and unnecessary tear gas, resulting in injuries and fatality. Arbitrary arrests and detention are rampant, with individuals being held without trial, sometimes for extended periods. Joel Senyon speaks to Ugandans. In a number of cases, what we see is abduction of citizens by plain-clothed, gun-wielding men. In a number of cases, what we see is abduction of citizens by plain-clothed, gun-wielding men who take these people to unknown places, and many have since been missing for years. For example, John Bosco Kibalama, who has been missing for over 4 years. Yet Prime Minister Nabanja admitted that he was arrested by the state. Of late, the same is happening even to members of parliament, like it was for Hon Seglinya, Hon Sewanyana, and most recently Hon Paulo Akamba. It is wrong for these practices to become normalized, because everyone is a potential victim, as we are witnessing. What is particularly disturbing is the abdication of duty by Uganda Human Rights Commission, a body explicitly mandated to safeguard the rights of our citizens. This commission has shamefully turned a blind eye to these atrocities, failing in its core responsibility to protect the vulnerable and uphold justice. This neglect not only embolden the perpetrators, but also undermines the trust and faith of people in our institution meant to protect them. Concerning the Uganda People's Defense Force, UPDF, Joel Senyon explains, concerning the Uganda People's Defense Force, UPDF, Amnesty International's report have illuminated the arbitrary arrest, torture of opposition supporters and journalists. Additionally, excessive use of force by security forces, including UPDF, during protest has resulted in numerous casualties and injuries. As underscored in the 2021-2022 report, moreover, the Uganda Human Rights Commission, UHRC, received over 1,200 complaints against security forces in 2022, with a notable proportion implicating the UPDF. Statistics from the UHRC's 2022 annual report paint a grim picture of human rights abuse within defense sectors, including documented cases of torture, unlawful detentions, often in military facilities, and extrajudicial killings, Additionally, reports indicate that over 1,500 individuals were allegedly arrested for illegal fishing practices in 2023, with civil cases resulting in fatality, further exacerbating human rights violation in the fishing community. Despite these alarming statistics, there remains a lack of accountability for perpetrators within the UPDF, as highlighted by Human Rights Watch Global Report. Many individuals implicated in human rights abuse enjoy impunity, often due to political connections and system corruption. The unjust crackdown on opposition assemblies and countrywide oversight activities is particularly concerning. The government's relentless and brutal suppression of opposition voices and activities is not only a gross violation of fundamental human rights, but also a direct attack on domestic principles this nation claims to uphold. As we see on television, peaceful assemblies are usually met with violent dispersal, arbitrary arrests, and brutal beatings. The use of drone vans to whisk away political opponents to ungazetted detention facilities is a sinister development that underscores the government's contempt for the rule of law. These covert operations are blatant violations of human rights aimed at instilling fear and suppressing any form of political dissent. In order to address the pitfalls in the defense and internal affairs sector, there is an urgent need for, Yoweri Museveni suggests, 1. Implementing comprehensive reform to combat corruption. 2. Enhancing transparency and strengthening accountability mechanisms within law enforcement agents. 3. Establishing effective oversight and monitoring mechanism to prevent and address instances of excessive use of force, arbitrary arrests, and torture. 4. Ensuring impartial investigation and accountability for perpetrators of human rights abuse, respecting and upholding the right to peaceful assembly and freedom of expression. Those are the suggestions Yoweri Museveni put in place in order to do away with the brutal force being exhibited by men and women in uniform. 13. Conclusion. The spirit under which we raise these issues is not because we are mandated to do so. We are mandated to do as per existing legal or policy framework under which we operate. But, sorry brothers and sisters, let me rephrase. The spirit, 13, conclusion, Yoweri Museveni speaks. The spirit under which we raise these issues is not just because we are mandated to do as per the existing legal and policy framework under which we operate, but to a wide margin, it is nationalistic one. But to a wider margin, it is a nationalistic one. As a government in waiting, we shall continue to do whatever it is possible within our reach to bring about positive change aimed at restoring the glory of our country. I therefore, Yoweri Museveni, appealing on to us, Ugandans, we are the government. I therefore implore each one of us to reflect on these issues and act swiftly for them, and act swiftly on them for the good of us all, and those who shall come after us. Signed by Yoweri Museveni. Joel B. Museveni, Member of Parliament, Leader of Opposition. Now we're going, as we are about to conclude, dear brothers and sisters. I'm not leaving a page here. I want to finish this job here. My brother, Apostle ASP Asime, reminded us that we have to learn on work. I found so touching this document as I was reading it, and I'm like, I will present it before the people, though it is lengthy and disgusting to the listener and the viewers, but I'll continue. And I was prompted by Mr. Mapenduzi in yesterday's space at X, while addressing the condition and the pending closure of the Kaluma Bridge. He stated in his wickedness that deliberating on matters of Kaluma, it is a non-political issue. Thus, to all the listeners and those who are going to suggest they should not bring anything or their suggestion attached to politics. And I was so mad. Mr. Mapenduzi, You are a disappointment to the people of northern Uganda, well knowing, according to the information we receive, that Museveni is planning to close that bridge with a Yiino intention to lure the people into an ambush orchestrated by him in order for him to stay relevant on the international scene. You are trying to cover that, Mapenduzi, that yesterday's space deliberations, it was not politically motivated. How pathetic are you, dear brothers and sisters? We go back to Sowell Genyonye's response to the devil Museveni and his sycophants appendices. The table below shows loan. The table below shows loans utilization, under utilization in US $1 million. And we have columns here. Project title, date of borrowing, total amount of US dollar borrowed in millions, utilized so far in US millions, percentage and closure. We start with the transport. Project, Kampala City Road Rehabilitation. Borrowing money, date 14th August 2021. Total amount in US dollars borrowed 54.15 million US dollar. Utilized so far 6.18 million US dollar. Percentage 11.4%. Closure 31st December 2024. Another project, Kampala Jinja Expressway. Date of borrowing 13th September 2021. Amount of money borrowed $229.47 US million. Amount utilized 0.34%. Percentage 0.1%. Closure 31st December 2022. Busoga Mpigi Express Highway. Amount of money, date of borrowing 14th February 2017. Amount of money borrowed 91 million US dollars. Amount of money utilized 54.23 million US dollars. Percentage of work done 59.6%. The closure of the project 31st December 2019. Kampala City Roads Rehabilitation Project 5th May the 3rd. 5th March 2022. Date of borrowing. Total amount in US dollar borrowed 224 million US dollars. Amount of money utilized 25.49 million US dollars. Percentage 11%, 11.4%. Closure of the contract 31st December 2024. Mount National Capitol, Mount National Capitol, Suwan, Kitale, and Eldoret Bypass Road. Date of borrowing money 24 May 2018. Amount of money borrowed 38.40 US million dollars. Amount of money used 35.86. Percentage of work done 93.4%. Closure of the project 31st December 2022. Upgrading Namagumba Budadiri Nalugungu Road. Namagunga Budadiri Nalugungu Road. Date of borrowing money, 25th of August 2023. Amount of money borrowed in US dollar, 71 million US dollars. Amount of money utilized, dash. Percentage of work done, 0.0%. Closure of the project, 31st December 2027. Busoga Mpigi Express Highway, 14th February 2017. 2017, 59.86 million US dollars. Amount of money utilized, 30.58 million US dollars. Percentage of work done, 51.1%. Closure of the project is 31st December 2019. Kabale Lake Bunyonyi Kisolo Mahinga Road upgrading project. Date of borrowing, 21st May 2021. Amount of money borrowed, 72.12 million US dollars. Amount of money utilized, 2.40 million US dollars. Percentage of work done, 3.3%. The closure of the project, 31st December 2024. My brother, this is too much here. I wish my wife was here. She's the only one who good in these figures. They give me a problem. Dear brothers and sisters, thank you so very much for paying attention and spending a minute with me right here as I've been reading these figures, dear brothers and sisters, on the African continent. Bob the Mechanic straight at your screen. Dear brothers and sisters, I had decided to present the response from the leader of the alternative government, which was supposed to be the real government, dear brothers and sisters, on the African continent. It should be born in your mind all the time that when we took to the polls, we removed the Museveni's regime out of our political institutions. Remember that, okay? We outvoted him decisively. He knows that exactly. So, this report, or the response you have seen right now, it would have been the policy that is delivering service to the people of the Republic of Uganda. If it wasn't from Museveni's guns, dear brothers and sisters, we wouldn't be reciting this, because it would have been the policy that is delivering service to the people of the Republic of Uganda. According to the document, dear brothers and sisters, a document in its depth, a consistency by almost incontestable logic, that is coming from the National Unity Platform. So when you listen to the document, dear brothers and sisters, it is on all pages of Joel Senyonyi's, platforms. You can get it and read it to yourself, those figures. You will be able to agree with me that it is imperative and justifiably for me and you to march on 9th October to the Parliament, and we rescue our Parliament, our legislature. Dear brothers and sisters, we have been lectured. We have received civic education from Sir Alex Waisom Fumbiro, from Madam Teacher Namboze, indicating that if we do not get off our butts, if we do not get out of our comfort zone and confront Museveni with a spirit which does not recognize death, Dear brothers and sisters, we are going to be ruled over for the next 50 years. According to Museveni's Tutsi dynasty, 100-year master plan. It is unfolding before us. It is not a lie. You can see Joel Sonyonyi stated that security operative, they kill as they please to protect Museveni's interest. We all know that Museveni is not a Ugandan. That Museveni, he is detached. He is detached to all the plight, to all the sufferation which are his making. Ugandans, we are enduring all we endure because of Museveni. Not by mistake, but those are all deliberate measures to enslave us, to make us people who are beggars. Ugandans, to become beggars. Museveni, you are lying. You will have to kill every single one of us for you to achieve that. Other than that, we are taking you out of power. Dear brothers and sisters, fellow diasporians, we have an obligation to confront Museveni's sycophants. Dear brothers and sisters, in this week, I came across a poster indicating that Charles Peter Mayiga, Museveni's sycophant, in all those he trusts, Charles Peter Mayiga, a man Museveni planted into our cultural institution, that is Buganda. I speak of Buganda, fellow fighters, without removing my beret. After all, this beret means people power, and I am included in people power. This is not NUP. This is people power. I feel it because it looks just like the hemoglobin that is running into my veins, of which Museveni has no control. Thus, I am speaking against anybody who fathers our subjugation, especially fellow refugees, you sycophants of Charles Peter Mayiga, who reside in diaspora, who are enjoying the democracies that offers us refugeeship, as we continue to fight Museveni to give us back our country. Gwe mukazi gwe, nze sina kye nnoonya ku famire yo, n'abo abantu b'okubira amasimu mubaŋŋambe, teri alina kyammanyi, tewali alina kyammanyiiko, sikuyinaako buzibu. The moment you put your name on a public domain to serve, especially serving people who are well versed and they are known to any Ugandan, mukazi gwe, stop disturbing people. Stop disturbing the people whom you know that I have an acquaintance on them. I am Bob. The words that I speak, they do not have any control over them. Muchala gwe, without due respect, we are to fight each and everyone who fathers our subjugation, especially here in diaspora. The people of South Africa, I, Bob the Mechanic, residing in your midst, we have come to a realization that we have fought Museveni, and now Museveni has no legitimacy. After all, God never gifted him with the words that can entice the mind. So he has resorted on people, our fellow refugees here in South Africa, enjoying the democracy of South Africa, whereby they can even invest, and the police allows them. Whereas in Uganda, the country of which we are fighting, you cannot invest if you are not affiliated, if you are not so and so's son. Now, these individuals, they are threatening us because we are saying we are coming to demonstrate, because you are hosting Charles Peter Mayiga, a man who wanted to assassinate Ssaabasajja Kabaka. And you feel like Your family is being attacked. How about us who are being chased off the land? Who are being chased off the land? With all due respect. With all due respect. Let me tell you something. We shall die trying or we will be free. We will be free. We will be free. Muchala gwe. We will be free. Vakubantu bomanyi nti mbayina kakakwate. Tebayina access ku bintu byenjogera ne ku byendowooza. Nkuwa ekitiibwa sirina gwe mpisaamu maaso. Naye amazima ga Katonda mu ggulu kasitooba ng'oyisaamu ekintu kya Museveni. Ekintu kya Museveni. Bwe njogera ku Museveni ntegeeza Mayiga, ntegeeza Mathias Mpuuga, ntegeeza Lubega Sseggona, ntegeeza Muwanga Kivumbi n'ako akabondo akeeyita Buganda Caucus. Konna bonna basajja ba kabano. Sifaayo oba oli wa ggwanga ki kuba nsobola okwetuuma Ttaamale nga siri wa nkima. Sifaayo gwe mukazi gwe oba oli wa ggwanga ki. Naye nkusaba ekintu kimu nti amannya g'olabikira kapande oba ofuuse muntu ali mu public domain, meaning that we are entitled to scrutinize your motives. You understand? You understand? I have a number as Bob. Manyira bantu. Sikumanyira. Togezaako nyabo. Please. Lord of Lord, God of God, King of King, your glorious throne endures for generations and generations. Heavenly Father, we give thanks and praise for your loving kindness. Fellow Ugandans, fellow combatants, fellow digital warriors, let us prepare ourselves to confront Charles Peter Mayiga. What you saw in Britain, that was just small. What you're going to experience in South Africa, you will understand. If we fail to prevent you from coming to South Africa through democratic means, we are going to demonstrate in a massive number you will never forget in your life. Fellow Ugandans, we are marching to the parliament. We are marching to the parliament, fellow Ugandans. When you see what Joel Sonyon said, when you see the amount of money being embezzled by parliamentarians, those are seven sycophants. That is the same money Mathias Mpuuga and Charles Peter Mayiga uses to bribe prominent leaders here in South Africa. South Africans, those who enjoy the freedom in South Africa, they are conniving with the people we are fighting with in Uganda to kill us here in South Africa. Yes, we shall die. You only kill the flesh. Motherfucker, you ain't got no access to my soul, to my spirit, and my mind. You ain't got no access on that. Toina access. You see this flesh, it dissolves at death. But the mind, the soul, and the spirit, they are eternal. And their reincarnation, it is determined to our beliefs and our conduct in this earthly life. Meaning that you cannot intimidate me not to speak what I'm supposed to speak, especially the truth, because of fearing, incurring what you call death. What do you know about death? You think you can kill someone? You kill another flesh. I'm losing it a little bit. Dear brothers and sisters, may the Lord bless you. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord protect our leaders. May the Lord restore love into humanity, into sons and daughters of mankind. Heavenly Father, we call upon your name. Heavenly Father, we know we are fallible, Heavenly Father, but we are always grateful for your loving kindness, unconditional love, Heavenly Father, for the breath of life. We speak because we are still breathing. Matthias Mpuga, Charles Peter Maiga, Rebecca Segona, Buganda caucus, the so-called Buganda caucus in parliament. Temugenda tukanga. Charles Peter Maiga, Matthias Mpuga, make that Rebecca Segona. Nemuteka proposal that Chagwan Sendam should be assassinated. You tetuside, after all, omutonzi waffe yasalawo. Omukama abere nammwe. Stay blessed, dear brothers and sisters. Stay blessed by the grace of the Most High, Lord God Father, the creator of heaven and earth. Bob the mechanic.